Well, what a fantastic interview this is going to be. It's one of my bucket list interviews. I've always wanted to talk with Phideaux for years. I've been listening to his music for years, and here he is live, and I can't believe it. It's excellent. Phideaux Xavier, and he's got a brand. And welcome to the Noble Shire for Progressive Discussion. You got to remember marketing. You got to mention your name and
Exactly.
the name of your show. Uh,
Greetings,
yeah,
Professor
thank
Mark.
you. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. But no, this guy is always busy. We're going to talk about his history and some of the awards and things that he's received. The guy just is a legend as far as progressive rock. And if you don't know him, uh, I don't know how you missed it, but get out there, listen to his new album. His new album is AutoMoto Animus. So we're going to talk about that title in a little bit here. He's releasing it July 6th on the Bloodfish label. I got to slow down. And that's his own label, and just fantastic. So welcome, Fido. And do you want to say anything or?
Just hello. It's great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to be interviewed. I love your work, and I thank you for your support. And it's a great opportunity to talk to the listeners. And I always loved hearing an interview with my the people that I enjoy listening to. So thank you.
Definitely. I appreciate you taking time out. Like I say, this guy is absolutely busy, always creative, always making new music. Um, so let's go ahead and we'll start with that name, Automoto Animus. You're well, I think it has something to do with AI and the encroaching AI and the encroaching um, automation that we're kind of all facing, but you tell me.
Well, it's funny because the on the album is a song called "Driving to Destruction."
Yeah.
And it is a song that I kind of wrote in 1980 when I was a small child. And I've never really finished the song or been able to create the song since that time. And I for this album, I had my friend Molly and Ariel in Los Angeles, and we decided to do some recording. And I thought, oh, let me just try to work with this ancient song. So I exhumed the song, and we were working on the song. And the song is a joke on driving to distraction, driving to destruction. And it seems to me, the long arc of humanity is often a lot of moving headlong into whatever we as human beings our project is, and sometimes it could lead to disaster. Sometimes it could lead to great you know cataclysmic things that lead to utopian moments, but who knows. At any rate, while doing that song, in the middle section, this kind of chant came about, in which the words "Automoto Animus" came to me. And it's sort of like Sticks, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. And I thought that was a fun element in the song. The song has a
Yes.
verse, then it repeats the same music, and when you repeat the same music, it can get boring or repetitive. So I thought, well, I need to do something in this moment, and so I sped my voice up and slowed my voice down and had this automoto animus enigmatic terminus, and that became a little bit of the signature idea behind part of the album. And it seemed to me as I was putting the album together that there was this dichotomy between you know the destruction and but humanity moving into the future, you know sort of lost lost possibilities with the siren song. And in general, I think I often have a feeling of where are we going next. So it's not meant, the album isn't meant to be particularly negative, but certainly, we're living in a world of AI. Nobody voted on whether to have AI, or if they did, it was like 1964 when they're like, hey, Bell Labs has this new thing we're trying out. We're going to, map the human brain or whatever. But suddenly, 3 years ago, this thing emerges, or 5 years ago, whatever. It's like, hey, everyone, there's this new, overlord sitting next to us. Soon it'll be our god, AI. And I'm not particularly pro or con AI. I'm kind of frightened, and it's got a lot of things to talk about. But yes, and ironically, I was experimenting with AI artwork, and taking photographs of myself, and creating sort of collages, or creating average photos of, if you took 10 photos of me, what's the average like, and that became the album cover. Weirdly enough, this is the first album I've put myself, or a
Yeah,
representation
you
of
don't
myself, on
usually.
the cover.
Yeah, but no, it looks good. Looks good.
Thank you.
Well, and I think it was today, Jeff Bezos said we need to protect the water for AI because humans are not going to be part of the distant future. AI is going to be the future. And I was, did you really write that? Did you really say? And I haven't really
Well,
done enough research to see that he did, but it just, when I scrolled through my Facebook in the morning, I saw that and I was like, you're gonna
yeah.
come out and say that, right? I
I
just
mean,
knew.
there are utopians, and transhumanists, and futurists, who have
I like
many,
that word, transhumanist.
yeah,
Like,
many
when you're a
many
human, I mean, it's just
yeah, human machine hybrid things.
no, but
It's funny because in my more metaphysical musings, I might imagine, what is the purpose of humanity on planet Earth? Just as proteins inside the human body put together the amino acids, or that fuel the machine that is the human being. What are human beings upon the planet Earth? And is it possible that when matter came into existence and enabled organic beings to grow of such a suitable complexity that they could house consciousness capable of great art and great beauty, is it possible that really we are just the proteins here to build the machines capable of housing consciousness for lifespans greater than 150 years? Is it possible that if we create machines capable of housing consciousness for 150,000 years, what would that be capable of? I'm not sure I like that idea,
no, I
but
don't either.
it's possible that, who knows what is, and that's kind of one of the fun things about progressive rock. If you're not imagining the destruction of everything, and I understand, I cop to the idea that much of my work is kind of dystopian, and
Yeah,
takes perhaps a more critical look. It's not, I'm not a utopian, although I'm a very optimistic person. I also
like it.
believe
Yeah,
that we're in the life we're meant to be in, and we're, these battles that we're having, these kind of political and philosophical battles, are ongoing. They've always been ongoing. Maybe that is part of what life is about, is answering these questions of, who are we as beings? Are we meant to just have families and have love and have friends? Because people who have near death experiences, they come back and say love was all it was ever about. Or are we meant to be builders? Are we meant to be builders of great temples, great cathedrals, great, rockets to the space? Are we meant to go out? I know that new television show Pluribus talks about this, mind virus that comes to Earth and turns everyone into a hive mind, whose only purpose is to create a large enough telescope to transmit the virus to the next planet. So there's a lot of interesting questions. AI could there was an article that came out a while ago by some AI people that I just discovered, and it said the article was solve everything, and it proposed that AI would solve everything, that we would live in a utopian world by 2040. So even though to look at it, it seems like we're going to go through some very, very tough times. And will it be 80 years of us having to transition to a universal basic income world where nobody works and we live in a completely different way? I mean, we're on the cusp of an unknown
Yeah.
time, and it is kind of like AutoMoto Animus. And the other thing about the title is that it's kind of the anima animus. It's
Yeah.
like the life force. What is the life force in the machine? Are we the machine? Are we just somnambulant sleepwalkers? I love that Vandergraaf Generator song, "The Sleepwalkers." It just reminded me of human agency. Where does it begin and end?
And welcome to the machine. Yes.
Yes.
Uh,
And
every
welcome to my
time I think
nightmare.
of this whole thing, somehow I go back to that. And another guy that actually he's I think on the same level as you is Arjun Lucasen, and he also had some fantastic things, not happy things, but some very dangerous kind of things where you could reanimate human beings
Right.
in the future. And, even though this person's been dead and wants to be dead and wants to be moved on,
Yeah.
they reanimate these people to serve purposes.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so there's that. I want to just kind of throw that one out there. And then last night, my wife and I, and I know you're into movies and TV. We're going to talk about that. But my wife and I went to Disclosure Day, Spielberg's latest movie. And how
Sure.
do aliens, if you believe in that, how does that all fit into this whole thing? And some people say they're the reason that there is AI and they're going to use this, and people still don't even believe that they exist. And
Well, some people say that they
anyway,
are
go ahead.
AI, that they're organic AI, because
Okay.
we can't live long enough to travel around the galaxy, but we could send artificial life forms.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then he and I are both living through I mean, everything happens at once. I mean, you go through years of, sort of stabilized existence, and then all of a sudden, 2006 comes and the world absolutely completely changes. You get a new guy in the White House that is the scourge of mankind. And and he is uh, doing things that people never would have imagined.
Mm,
And
mm,
so you've got that adding into it, and unfortunately, it's our 250th birthday as well. Um, and surprise,
mhm,
fathers of the Constitution, this is exactly what you didn't hope
mhm,
for on the 250th anniversary. So, yeah, we are as Americans deal, and the world too. I don't want to say, the world doesn't get away from this, unfortunately, but as Americans, we are dealing with so much right now. And your album couldn't have come out at a better time. I mean,
mm.
it hopefully is going to spur these kind of conversations. And I know that's not necessarily why you made the album, but it never hurts. Do you want to say anything else about the title or anything else about or anything else about all this? Because
Well, what I
it's
will
all
say is
fascinating. Yeah.
what I will say is that I would like to imagine that at my heart and at the heart of what I'm trying to do is my song, "Hey Humanity."
Yeah.
And people have said, "Well, what's your favorite song?" And actually, that's my favorite song I've ever written. And it was a song that my producer Paul Russler said you should work on this song. I thought it was maybe not a throwaway,
Oh no,
but
that's a good one.
honestly, that song, which talks about man to man, woman to woman, parent to child, friend to friend. It's like, hey, humanity, we're all here. You know, we have this privilege to live on this rock, orbiting this sun in the Goldilocks, area. And wow, it's amazing. We are incredible creatures. And, that's the optimism that I have.
Good. And there's so much out there. I mean, if you and that's one of the things my wife and I we do meditation and things like that. We throw on YouTube. I used to be a CNN and I was an undergrad political science guy, so I was
Oh,
watching politics all the time. Well, who the
yeah.
heck wants to watch politics right now? Nobody, not even me. And so we started getting addicted to YouTube and started
Mm,
looking. She wanted to go to Europe. So we started looking at Europe, then we looked at Asia. And if you take a look at some of the things that are out there on YouTube and some of the places that exist and some of the, well, for instance, in China, some of the bridges we've manufactured and some of the things that we've done, it is amazing. It is absolutely, and here in the United States during the Depression and all the stuff we did, building
yeah.
dams and things like that, at that time, they're as big as what's going on over there. But there's so much out there on this earth that we don't, I never knew about,
I
and
mean,
I'm
go
sure
back
I'm
to
not the only one.
go
Yeah.
back to the cathedrals of
Yeah.
of the medieval
Oh,
times.
there
Go
you
back
go.
to the pyramids. I mean, I took a trip in Peru, about 8 years ago,
Oh,
and
shoot.
saw giant rocks that were clearly hewn, placed exactly next to each other in ways that is inexplicable. So there are incredible mysteries abounding everywhere, and yeah, incredible feats that we are accomplishing now.
Incredible feats, incredible beauty, and yeah, we gotta enjoy it while we can. And then we're fighting global warming at the same time. It is, as you say, it's one of those pivotal times in humanity where, I guess,
Yeah.
as it always is. Yeah, I mean, we look at it and we see all this stuff happening, and in the '60s and '70s, you remember, there's Vietnam, there's all. I mean, we thought that was the biggest thing. So there's always change, and
Yep.
that's you either fight it or you go with it or you hopefully
And
um,
you never know where, the worst of times, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Things lead to, terrible tragedies lead to incredible breakthroughs. So I think people need to, maybe understand that there are reasons behind things we cannot know about. YouTube is fascinating because it did YouTube has a habit of radicalizing people for if it's
yeah,
knitting, if
if
it's
you use it the wrong way.
macrame,
Yeah.
and it radicalized me by showing me a lot of near death experience videos.
Oh
And
wow.
that is where I kind of started to think, maybe there's something to the idea that we come here for a purpose. And
Mhm.
when it is our time to leave, we know it's our time to leave, and we have and we treat earth as our school, and our real life is the spirit realm. That's kind of the idea that I am holding dear lately.
Me too. No, I agree with you there that we're hopefully moving on to something bigger and better. Not that this hasn't been. I mean, this has been wonderful, and I hope for most people it is. For some people, it definitely is not, and they choose early to leave, and that's a big shame. uh,
Mm.
because I know, and I've never been through anything like these people have been, but if you just hang in there, there is
Right.
so much out there. But yeah, if you're in an impossible situation, I absolutely understand. Um, let's get off on the negative. He let's just cover a few things that most musicians don't get three daytime Emmy awards. This guy has three daytime Emmy awards for the General Hospital. Now, I used to, when I was off, I did actually watch this, not
Ah,
religiously, but I did actually watch it. I mean, I didn't know who you were back then, but I think you played a doctor, or didn't you?
uh,
Weren't
no,
you on the show
I'm
first?
a director. I'm a
You
director.
never were on the show?
Never was on
Okay.
the show.
Okay.
No.
Sorry. My mistake. But all right. So you directed how many episodes?
Well, I started in soap operas out of college. It was something that I, thought was an interesting possibility as a job, just because I needed a job. And I went to this soap opera Guiding Light in
Yeah,
New York,
I
worked
remember that
there for
one
about
too. Yeah.
10 years. Then I came out then I went to another show, One Life to Live, where I met some
Yep.
people who eventually brought me out to Los Angeles to work on a new soap opera called Sunset Beach. And that one, I then jumped over to a show called Passions, which was a supernatural show. And that was about witches and demons and really more my style. And when that one ended, I got an opportunity to work on General Hospital, where I spent about 17 years. And that's where I won some Emmys. And then last year, I went to Atlanta to work with CBS on starting a new soap opera that they had called Beyond the Gates. And I'm currently affiliated loosely with Beyond the Gates. I'm on a long hiatus, but I'll be returning to work there in October for a couple of months. And yeah, so television is I love the genre. I love working on, I love working with actors. I love the psychology that you get to in a long story where it unfolds over a period of time and characters play the very small beats of what's happening in their lives. And I think that's what I like about music too, is creating psychology and discussing
Yes.
the human condition, and musically directing actors and camera work has a musical quality. Plus, I've had an opportunity on some of the soap operas to do some musical work as well. They've had little musical episodes that I've been able to work on.
And your music has a lot of imagery in it. Absolutely. I remember specifically Infernal, but also Doomsday Afternoon and The Great Leap. All of that whole trilogy had a lot of um, imagery in it, and your videos are very good as well.
And
Uh,
great artwork. I
and great,
mean,
yo,
the
thank you.
artwork
Yeah,
by Molly Rutan. She made paintings for those three albums, which I think add to the experience. And she
definitely.
really was my collaborator with the imagery that would be associated with this, alternate universe of Doomsday Afternoon.
All right. And it all began back in Hastings on the Hudson in New York. So you're originally East Coast. Now you're living on the West Coast. Which do you like better, or do you like both? I mean,
Well, I love the town I grew up in. It was a great town. We had the Billy Burke estate there, which
oh yeah,
was people may not remember, but Billy Burke played Glinda, the Good Witch in The Wizard of Oz, and she lived in Hastings for a period of time and had a zoo with a menagerie of elephants and tigers and all kinds of animals that shouldn't have to endure the conditions of New York State. But and that she didn't have it for very long. But Hastings on Hudson is a wonderful little town. William Shatner lived there for a little while. And the author of Rosemary's Baby, I think he
oh
lived there
no
for a
kidding.
while. So it was a great place to live, and a lot of creative people that I went to school with who play with me to this day, and it was an ideal time to grow up in the early 70s,
Yeah.
late 60s, early 70s, and great time of music. And now I live in Los Angeles, where I work in the television industry, unless when I'm commuting to Atlanta. And of course, California's got great weather.
Yeah.
It's also got a utopian mindset. It's a wonderful place, in America. Starting on the East Coast, coming west. We have made an amazing country here, and California is a great melting pot of a lot of cultures, and I do like it.
And you don't have the humidity that you do back east. And
Thank you. Thank
yes,
you.
oh my goodness, yeah.
No,
I,
I
I'm
can't handle that
originally
humidity.
I'm
I
originally from,
miss the snow, but I don't miss
really
the nasty, humid summers.
come up to Washington, go up to actually go to Whistler. That's even better up in Canada. But Mount Baker by us is pretty nice too. But uh,
Sweet.
it's a big ski resort. But no, from Ohio, growing up with that, it's just. And my wife and I just got back last week. We were in Canada, went to this conservatory, walked inside of there, and I was like, okay, now I remember what it feels like. I was like, I don't want to feel this. I mean, we toured the whole thing, but that was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm getting out of here, no more. But yeah, no, I don't know how people live back there anymore now, and I
Right.
haven't been back since. And then from Cleveland, we went down to Florida to make it even worse. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, no more humidity for me. Yeah, but and were you? Did you? A lot of people, I mean, you were probably too young like I was, but did you get into the village scene with Dylan and things like that in New York, or you never?
That's a little bit before my time.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
time, my time was CBGB's and
Okay. Oh, all right.
Patti Smith and the Talking Heads
Oh, yeah,
and
the
the
good stuff.
the early '80s,
Okay.
Danceteria and kind of that club scene of
Okay.
the early '80s. I went to college in New York City, in the early '80s, and
NYC. Yeah, I think you said. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful place. Uh, I couldn't live
but I
there.
loved all those '60s things. I mean, I wish I had been there
Yeah.
for Fillmore East and all that. I mean, incredible music. I mean, I had an older sister, and she went to the musical Hair, and
Oh, yeah.
she knew all of that stuff, and it
Jesus
was her
Christ
record
Superstar.
collection that I was stealing and coveting and listening to, that she would turn me on to Jefferson Airplane and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Moody Blues and Jethro Tull. She had all those records, and that's where I learned about music, was from my sister, who was a '60s child of essentially that culture. But a young child growing up, you know, with those heroes, Dylan and the the,
Uh,
the Beatles, and
Now that you mentioned Jefferson Airplane, um, and this is one of the things that I teach my students, and that's if you can, get out there and do some research. And he just got done completing an interview with, I think he was from Europe. The guy you just did that interview, was he from Europe or?
Claudio.
I think
I,
so,
I
right?
think he's based in the U.S. He,
Oh,
he
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 is.
came from
Okay.
South America. Yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
he yeah.
But you had mentioned that one of your early influences was Jefferson Airplane, and I'm trying to
Absolutely.
remember now the song that you said, and
Lather.
that's right, Lather. Yeah, and I love that song. But have you heard? God, now I can't think of the name. I'm trying to Google it here. The God, God, God. Um, it's going to come back to me. It's the one where she talks about the trees. Eskimo Blue Day.
Yeah, well, that's progressive rock, full stop. That
It
one
was, yeah,
and then Hey Frederick on the same album.
yeah.
Those are unbelievable cataclysmic songs. I mean,
They really,
Grace Slick, her songwriting is so deep.
yes.
I came to LA and I met a guy who had been a waiter at a restaurant in New York. So I knew him in New York. And when I was in New York, he was playing the new Jefferson Airplane album, which was the 1989 or set. It was the one where they kind of
Starship.
got back together,
Oh, okay.
and it wasn't a very good album. It had one good song of hers, and I was like, oh gosh, you're playing this new Jefferson Airplane album. I didn't think anyone was going to listen to that. And he said, oh, he's a huge Airplane fan. So when I came out to LA, I met him again, and he said he was a big fan of Grace's, and he knew Grace, and he played me this song. I can't remember the title of it that was unreleased, and he said, yeah, Grace doesn't want him to do music anymore, but she has this song and it's really good. And I was like, I want to hear that song again, but she's an incredible songwriter. He wouldn't
Definitely.
he wouldn't give me a copy of it.
That's a shame. No, that
I
is
know.
a real shame because, yeah, such an inspiration for women for sure. But all of us, I mean, that
And her
song,
voice.
yeah. And I'm trying to think of Rachel from, goodness, I can't remember, but she did a cover of it. And I was like, thank you, thank you. We brought this thing back to life.
Really? Eskimo Blue
Rachel
Day.
from uh, It's Coming. I can't remember the name of the band. But they invited her. She's a fantastic singer.
Mm.
Hang in here. It's going to come back to me. Um, uh,
Because I know that the Gun Club did a cover of Eskimo Blue Day.
yeah,
And
but
they're a 1980s punk band.
this was just a live show. And
Wow. It's a great song.
good God. It'll hit me later, but
Of
when it
course.
does, we'll come back to it.
Of course it will.
But yeah, all right. So let's talk more about. Well, let me just ask you. I usually ask a few little like questions about what are some of your influences. So you talked a little bit about Genesis. Did you listen at all to? I always ask this question because nobody seems, and I didn't find out about them until later. I'm sure I heard them thousands of times, but never really, put it together. Um, but Traffic. Did you like Traffic?
Traffic,
Yeah.
as in
Steve
John
Winwood.
Barleycorn Must Die.
Yeah, Steve
Traffic,
Winwood. Yeah.
Traffic is like top 10 album. That album, John Barleycorn Must Die, Glad and Freedom Rider and Empty Pages is an incredible side of an album. And the song John Barleycorn Must Die will haunt me till the end of my time. Steve,
Yes.
but I love the American version of Dear Mr. Fantasy, the album, because that has all these psychedelic, crazy songs that were sort of more, I don't know, I guess Dave Mason influenced, or the earliest stuff that they then said, oh, it was too psychedelic for us. I love Hole in My Shoe, Colored
Yes.
Rain. That
Yeah.
stuff is like, amazing. I don't love jazz music as much as I should, having been the son of a woman who was a jazz pianist and admired jazz incredibly. My mother loved jazz music. So when Traffic went a little jazzier,
Yeah.
they lost me a bit. And Glad and Freedom Rider are very jazz forward. But Low Spark is great. Shootout at the Fantasy Factory. They get a little more jam band for me. I like the tight compositions. I like things that are very organized, and that's I understand that some people like more improvisational things. I like songs where they sing on Starless of Bible Black by King Crimson. I'm not
Yeah.
such a fan of Indiscipline or some of the more unique parts of Red. Or Providence is not my favorite song by King Crimson.
All right. One last one on this traffic thing. If you haven't heard it yet, No Time to Live. It's on their greatest hits compilation type album. If you haven't heard it, take a listen. The beginning sounds like Supertramp's Even in the Quietest Moments. What's the big
Oh,
no, what's the big song?
I'm not. I don't know anything about Supertramp.
You're
I've
kidding.
only ever heard the Logical Song and Take the Long Way Home or Take the Right Way Home, which are great. I people hit me over the head with hammers telling me you got to listen to Supertramp,
Yeah,
and
no,
I
no,
I know they're great.
no. Yeah, I'm looking up the name of that song. But I don't know why this always happens, but I forget that song.
I forget the names
But
of
it's
songs
one
all the
of
time.
it's one of their greatest. The
Yeah.
um, I'm sure you've heard this somewhere. Uh, anyway, that's another one. If you so not soapbox opera, Fool's Overture. I
Hmm.
know you've heard Fool's Overture.
I'll
You
take a listen. I'll check it out.
you've never heard Fool's Overture.
It could be my gateway into Supertramp.
Oh,
Yeah. You know,
but
as a
you've never
kid,
heard that
I
Supertramp
never
song?
listened to the radio. I always went to
Oh,
this
okay.
shop in White
Okay.
Plains, New York, where there was a guy that curated all these import albums, and
Yeah.
he would tell us what to buy.
Okay.
So that's how we learned about Gong. That's how we learned about Vandergraaf Generator. That's how we learned about a lot of the stuff that we were listening to. So because I mean, even though there was some sort of okay progressive adjacent, rock radio in New York, I wanted to hear what I wanted to hear. I didn't want to like have someone else put on something and be at their beck and call.
Yeah. Um, Still trying to Google this other thing. All
Yeah,
right.
so I missed out on certain music that later on,
Oh,
in,
here we
in
go.
the in the late '90s, they started putting out all these remastered editions of like Iron Maiden and Ozzy Osbourne and what Judas Priest, bands that I never, never, never ever listened to, and I was like, wow, I missed some good music. I was never into the metal. It took me a while to come over into the metal world.
All right. I finally pulled back that the sheet from what I couldn't remember. Lake Street Dive, and the lead singer is Rachel Price, and
Well,
just she does an unbelievable cover of Eskimo Blue Sky.
and where are they from?
They're from somewhere in the east.
I, they're American, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Uh,
that a reference to a Rush song? Is that does their name come from
no,
like
they're
there's
more
some lakeside something with Rush, I think, but maybe I'm wrong.
Lakeside Drive, but no, these guys are more American. They call them an indie jazz band, but more
Oh, okay.
this new Americana type of thing,
Nice. Very
and
nice.
which is good. But
I'm getting more into that kind of a sound. In fact, there's a
are you
song on
really?
my new album which is definitely more folk Americana sounding, I think.
Oh, you might like them. But yeah, she just an incredible voice, and it's for me. And I think there's another one. I can't remember her name right off the top of the bat, but she didn't do that, but she did the famous. Why does this happen? Because you're getting old. The famous airplane song,
Somebody to Love, White Rabbit.
White Rabbit. Yeah, she did
No,
White Rabbit, and
it's
that
another
was
great song.
that was in a Michael Douglas movie. If you've ever seen that, it was one of the most. incredible scenes I can imagine. He comes
Oh wow,
walking down the steps and there's blood all over the walls, and that starts, and it's like, oh my God. they
crazy.
they couldn't have picked a better song. But yeah,
Yeah. That's like in the film Repulsion by Roman Polanski,
yeah.
where Catherine Deneuve walks down the hall with her plate. I think she has a rabbit that she cooked on her
Oh
plate.
yeah.
She
Yeah.
really
That's
creepy.
was that the Michael Douglas or the
That's Fatal Attraction, right?
that's it. Yeah, that's what I
Michael
was thinking.
Douglas, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay, so what do you do in LA when you're not making music? Do you tour? Do you go to the beach? Do you go where do you what do you do for hobbies? And that's one of the things that I ask people. Just to
Well,
go
the
ahead.
boring truth is that I make music a lot. I currently am not working uh, at a job,
Full
and
time.
so I have 4 or 5 days booked a week at the recording studio, and I'm trying to get albums mixed. I have a bunch of unreleased projects that have not yet been finished, so I've got 3 different studios working on mixing. I've got a guy named Brian Kehoe in Burbank who has an incredible studio. He mixes a lot of major label things, and he's also a Beatles historian and
Wow.
recently put out a book on the scores of George Martin. I
Wow.
recommend people check out this book
Yeah.
on the score. It's called The Scores. He's gathered together George Martin's scores. He was invited. He and his partner were invited by the family to do a deep dive into George Martin's entire oeuvre and present the scores. And they've done a really amazing job. At any rate, I met him because I needed some old ancient tapes digitized. And he's got a studio in Burbank with every tape recorder known to mankind. And
Oh,
as a result of that,
yeah.
he agreed to mix some of my music. So he's mixing some stuff. Rich Mauser, who mixed my new album, just completed mixing a live Phideaux Band album. So we have a 3 LP album of live concert recordings coming out in October or November. And I'm really excited about that because it takes all the Fido music that we've released. A lot of those songs get reworked and have a little more live
Yeah.
energy when they're performed. So I'm very excited for people to hear that. And Rich Mauser is really an impeccable mixer. He mixes all the Transatlantic and Spock's Beard and
Oh yeah.
a lot of other people's stuff. So he's working on that. And then there's another gentleman who's mixing some older music for me. Ian Be About is mixing my Mogon project albums, and so those I hope will come to surface soon. That was an offshoot project of mine that
Yeah.
would be less people. It would involve fewer than 10 people, which is what my band became. And it would be a little more minimalist music. So I either interact with those gentlemen as they have some finished things for me to review, or I go to the studio where I do my work, Kit and Robot, in downtown LA, and work with Paul Rossler, who is producing my newer music. And then if I'm not doing that, I'm at home, you know, editing the
Very
tracks
nice.
that I've recorded. And so when I have free time, I'll go out to dinner with a friend. I'll go to a film maybe. I like to sit and chat with friends of mine. I'm also pursuing my interest in metaphysical studies, and so I watch a lot of YouTube videos about those unusual subject matters.
Well, great. Well, all right. So not so much a traveler, not so much outside naturist, or
Sadly not.
it's
That's
hard.
for the future. That's for the third act. I'm in the very end of my second act, you know. The third act is about to begin.
And where you're at in LA, there's so much traffic. I mean, we think of it, we go to the beach in 15 minutes. To
Right.
get to the beach over there, it's what, an hour, even though it's maybe 20 minutes if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a bit of a vampire in the sense that I've always
Oh,
stayed
you don't
away
like
from the sun.
sun. Okay.
So I would be happy to go to the beach if I was sitting under a, like a giant,
Yeah. Not everyone is into that.
enclosure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the album. You open it up with Do What You Will. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all the citizens of the world, come on, do what you will. What do you mean? I mean, it's don't hold back, live life to its fullest, or is it something else?
Well, it could be, hey, we're here. Do what you will. Do what you came here to do.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the opportunity to be the most you can be. Who are you? Understand who you are. Let go of all that people tell you you must be and be who you are. And, do what you will. That's the whole reason to be. That's the only reason we're here, to be the most
We're here.
us we can be. And to understand that I am the person who decides who I am. Horrible things can happen to me. I can suffer terrible setbacks. I'm dealt with different hands. Personally, I didn't get the great beauty gene. I didn't get the money, power, prestige gene. I didn't get a lot of things in life, but I choose who I am, and that to me was a powerful message when I was a kid. Was that, oh, I'm not a victim of circumstance. I'm not, like, oh, well, I had a terrible childhood, or I had a this or a that. I eventually had to emerge from those stories I told myself and say, gosh, I'm here on planet Earth at an amazing time with, so many opportunities. And that's not to say that, people who are going through tough times, are losers, or
No,
shouldn't be taking care to nurture themselves through those tough times. It's to say, wherever you are in life is great. It's fine. Be who you are. Do what you will. Find your path, and we're here to join you. We are all citizens of the world. Come on, do what you will.
there are so many Horatio Alger stories within America, and they're constantly that's an old one, but they're constantly happening, and they're even in these dark times that we're going through. You read and you hear about new opportunities and new ways of making change.
It's
And
always darkest before the dawn. I mean, you have
exactly.
to be at the lowest point in your life before it turns around. And, we never know. We never know.
And the beginning happened with the new unveiling. Oh God, I know I can't get away from the politics. The new Obama show,
Center,
his new
library.
library in Chicago, and the water. They commented on how now we have a new reflecting fountain. But yeah, just seeing all those happy people back again, and it gives you hope. You don't. It's not. It may, and that's I think he and many other people have said, even though it's dark right now, it usually we find a way back, and we will, and not just politically. Even though you go through, medical issues and medical problems, you're gonna heal. You're gonna get back, and just don't give up. Yeah,
Now,
yeah. All right. Very good opener. Absolutely. And if you and we you kind of mentioned a little bit about we'll talk about shows in a minute. Wait. Okay. Driven to destruction. Don't get driven to destruction, but what do you mean by that?
I just mean, when we are in the car to, pay attention. It's like we're, it's funny because I've had that song for so long, and I have drafts of lyrics that are totally meaningless, that are awful and terrible. On the new album, when we are releasing it, we're going to be releasing it on Bandcamp as well as on LP and on CD. And if you get it on Bandcamp, we will also provide the whole album again as demos or bonus versions or alternate mixes or some writing demo. So Driving to Destruction is a song that people will hear my original writing demo where I'm just singing nonsense as I'm playing the song. And it's kind of funny because as we're talking now, I'm like, what did the words actually end up being for that song? What was that? I think it's a philosophical musing on driving to destruction. What happens when we're driving to destruction, and it's just a kind of clever bunch of metaphors. I mean, clever in my humble opinion. What I thought were fun metaphors for driving to destruction. There's a thing of when will the jaws of life, are talking to me, or so there's some metaphor in there about
I
the
think you
jaws of
said they
life.
can't help you or something like
Yeah, the
that.
jaws of life don't talk to me or won't hear me.
Won't work
Um,
for you. Yeah.
and so anyway, and one other thing is if you buy the album somewhere else and you say, gosh, you were going to give it this bonus tracks on Bandcamp and you messed me up because I bought it somewhere else. Just email us and we'll send you a link to be able to download the bonus tracks as
Oh,
well.
nice. No, that's very nice. Thank you. Now, I think you've mentioned your love of David Bowie's work. I love his work, and I kind of look at you as a modern, and you probably you'll resist that, but no, you are very much like you change. Um, you never stay with the same things, and
Mm,
I like that, and that's how progressive rock should be. You shouldn't be making the same thing over and over again,
mm,
and you come out and each time it's different. So I hear a lot of David Bowie in the song, but
mm.
another one, and I don't know, after you said you don't like Supertramp that much, do you like ELO?
Well, people are saying ELO, and I
Yeah.
think the new album is similar. I feel like the new album for me is like Breakfast in America was for Supertramp. It's
Okay.
like a very slick, new kind of like, yeah, the songs are shorter. I mean, classics. Here I am talking about my album as classics. For me, these songs are what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to make Doomsday Afternoon and Infernal and Snow Torch, and I've always wanted to make like shorter things that were like little polished gems, in my humble opinion. I love ELO. I mean, I hated ELO when I was a kid. It took me a while to go back and listen to them. I love the album Time, their 1980s kind of concept album. It's all these electronics. Jeff Lynne is a superstar of a producer. His work with Paul McCartney, his work with there was a boy band in England. I can't remember their name. He did a song with them. That was an incredible
Traveling
song.
Wilburys. Yeah.
The Traveling Wilburys was amazing. So, and it's funny because people are saying a lot of ELO. I've been, I've like heard a couple of reviewers say it reminded them of ELO, which never in my wildest dreams would I have thought. But yeah, ELO is a great one. Someone else said it kind of reminded them of the Sparks in
Oh
their
yeah.
Kimono My House era, which is a high compliment in my opinion. But yeah, I do like ELO. I only recently in the last decade have studied them a little more consciously.
El Dorado.
Yeah. Well,
Pick
when I
up
was a kid,
pick up the El
you know,
Dorado.
I went to see them live in
Oh wow.
1976
That might have
after
been.
Out of the Blue
Okay. That's
because
a great album.
Steve Hillage was the opening act.
Oh
And it
wow.
was Steve Hillage and the drummer for Steve Hillage then was the original drummer for Jethro Tull, whose name is now escaping me.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
um, uh, anyway, I'll come back to that.
Yeah,
And
and that might have been right around the era that I mean I love Tell, but the my favorite era I can't remember, but anyway.
well, Well, he was playing with Steve Hillage at the time, and Steve Hillage had just put out, I think, Motivation Radio or Green or something. So, he played a 20-minute set before ELO. We had nosebleed seats because ELO's disco album, Out of the Blue, I'm sure it's more than disco, but at the time I thought they were a disco pop band. So we heard like one song of ELO and then left. Because we were there to see Steve Hillage. But so yeah, I wish I had stayed.
Crest of a Knave. I couldn't remember the album, but it came
Oh
out.
yeah.
I like that era. I mean, there's a lot of eras of Jethro Tull, but yeah, that Crest of a Knave and this drummer probably is the same guy.
No,
Oh,
Crescent Nave's a little bit later.
no, yeah, no,
Tull's
I know who you're talking about. Famous drummer.
well, he was Clive Bunker.
Oh,
Clive
okay,
Bunker
not
was
that. Okay, the very
Doane Perry was the drummer
there you go.
on Crest of a Knave,
That's right.
who's a good friend of an actor I work with on the Gates named John Lindstrom, who's a
Oh yeah.
talented author as well. So I know neither Doane Perry nor John Lindstrom will ever see this, but hello to both of you.
And I actually interviewed Dome, and it was like 90 degrees in Portland,
Ah,
Oregon, and the guy was like a professor. He's talking to me about all those drum techniques and stuff like that. And this is a guy that's never played an instrument in his life, and I'm trying to be
right.
really nice and listen. But I did learn a lot. But no, I'm telling you, the guy is a wealth of knowledge and fantastic drum player. I mean, you couldn't get much better. But that's right. Anyway, yeah, he's incredible. All right, stay with me. And I ended up saying that was your best vocal performance only because there's more vocals, there's more lyrics in the song, and
Mm.
there's still music. There's great music, but talk about this one. This one is, you know, I feel um, the emotion, the words not coming to me. But go ahead. You
Well, it's funny because the bonus track version of that song is going to have another verse and another uh you know heavy part, and it's a version of the song. It's got no drums or bass or anything, but it's just a way longer version of the song that I eventually cut down. And if you listen to the bonus track, I think the emotion would be this is a vampire who's trapped a person in their world and they're forcing them to stay with them to the end of time. And
oh
when I cut the other verses out, it kind of became more of a true earnest love song. And I've had so many people tell me that they really like that song because it speaks to them in an emotional way, which because I have this preconceived notion of it being this kind of codependent vampiric thing. I'm like, really? That you don't find it disturbing? But I realize when I listen to the album version, it actually doesn't really contain a menacing quality. The music can be a little menacing in certain ways.
yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that you're asking me what the songs are about, but frequently other people tell me what the songs are about because I write them from the perspective of they come to me. I refine them. I try to, really find the best words, find the best music, try to cut out the bits that aren't working. The thing that people should understand is I've made 20-minute songs, and a lot of the songs for this album could have been 6-minute songs, 7-minute songs, and I kept cutting them down till I got to what I considered was the essential elements. So I'm trying to be more concise with this record. And so if people are like, oh, he's trying to write 3-minute pop songs, you're not. Yes, but
No,
I'm
no,
still trying to
single.
write melodic music that is adventurous.
Yeah.
And in my mind, you mentioned David Bowie, and I love, my heroes are Ian Anderson, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, David Bowie, Peter Gabriel, and Peter Gabriel when he left Genesis. I think my very favorite Peter Gabriel work of all time is his first album after Genesis. I
Yeah.
love Bob Ezrin's production of it. I know Peter rejects that. Peter was trying to put himself in this, let me go to the machine. Let me see what the machine can do with what I have. And he made, Salisbury Hill is as much about breaking out of, that machine as
Yeah.
and yet he went into that same machine with Bob Ezrin and made this album I think is perfect. There's not a song on that album that I don't like. So I think of this music for me as kind of my first Peter Gabriel, or maybe David Bowie when he's doing Low or Heroes. It's definitely pop music, but it's a little bit otherworldly, a little futuristic or mechanistic. So Stay With Me is a similar thing. The band when we recorded it with the band, they got really heavy in the section that's very very heavy, and then Rich Mauser, upped the guitars to make it
It
super
was
heavy,
heavier. Yeah.
and it almost got overwhelming. I mean, it was almost like, wow, can it really be that loud in that moment? And I thought it was exciting that it starts off with me floating in the tide,
Yeah.
and the melody at the beginning of that song was suggested to me by Paul Russler.
Oh,
I had an original melody which was embarrassing and terrible and awful, and lyrics that were really, really super, super terrible. And I said in the middle of recording, I was like, Paul, this is just awful. And he said, well, why don't you just start singing on, like, I don't know, this note? And he just sang a note. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, wait, let me try something. And this idea emerged, and it was really the right way to go with that song because it had to be floaty and ethereal. And you just didn't want to start with some platitude about, hey, let's be in. Stay with me.
great song. All right. Now, I, yeah, Charlie knew. Who's Charlie? We got to know.
Well, Charlie, I mean, I think there's some clues in the song. I,
Yeah.
I, at the end of the song, I say Charlie knew, squeaky too. I talk about the family. Charlie knew a thing or two, told the family what to do. And what about the world outside? You got to learn to ride the slide. We know there's a slide, and when you get to the top, you go back to the bottom of the slide, and you turn around, you go back to ride, whatever the words for helter skelter are.
Yeah.
So I woke up one morning, staying at my friend Ariel's house. We were, I think, rehearsing for something, and suddenly I just heard Charlie knew, Charlie knew. Always, I think the words that came into my mind were Charlie knew a thing or two, told the family what to do. I don't even think I had told the family what to do. I think it was Charlie knew a thing or two. All he had belonged to you.
Oh,
Like, I'm going to take what's yours. What
yeah.
you have is mine. And so I started just thinking, wow, this seems to be a strange song. And I was shaving, and more words were coming. I'm talking into my phone while shaving. And then I go down to the piano and I start to muck around on the piano. And this thing comes out. And I'm like, well, why am I, what is this song? Do I want to
Where's it
write this
coming
song?
from?
Do I like this song? And I've always been a fanatical consumer of information about cults and
Yeah.
information about totalitarian regimes. You have Stalin, you have Hitler, you have Chairman Mao, you've got all the terrible
Brutal. Yeah.
experiences that have come to
All
Earth
pot.
through communism. Communism is just destroyed country after country, and I just think about Scientology. I'm here in Los Angeles in the world of Scientology, and I had a friend in high school who got involved in a cult, and when her family deprogrammed her, and so when she came home from college, I was not yet in college, and so I became her best bud for that year. We were friends, but we got even closer, and I went with her to film some documentaries about cults, and I was sitting on the sidelines watching her talk about being in the cult, and heard about this gentleman who was in Scientology, and that became a deep dive obsession of mine. So Manson, the People's Temple,
Yeah,
Jim
that's
Jones,
Jim Jones. Yeah.
all of that was of great interest to me. So I think Charlie New is about, a warning about, hey, people will tell you what they know, but what do they know? And what do they know?
So since you brought that up, because a lot of people are comparing the end of this MAGA thing to that situation where someday everyone's going to get together and just exit. Um, I don't think that's going to happen. I think people are already exiting. The lifeboats are already out there for the rats that are leaving this organization. But what do you foresee? What for the end of this MAGA movement, or will it end?
Well,
There's
I
some
mean, I
people that
don't,
say, wait for JD. It's going to gear all back up again.
I mean, politics are an art of war. It's,
That's true.
Lao Tzu or whatever, Lao Tzu,
Yeah, the book. Yeah, the
yeah,
famous
the book. I
book.
mean, I have decided. I mean, I was very moved in politics in my youth, and experienced great disappointments when certain people
Yes.
became presidents that I did not want to become presidents. And I remember nights where I subscribed to special television channels so that I could watch the
Yeah.
crowning of my favorite candidate, and then a different candidate won, and I thought my life was over. And I thought, I don't want to let this color my world. And at that point, I was starting to see the idea of this near death experience stuff happening.
Oh,
And I
wow.
thought, I want to live from 1,000-year perspective.
Yeah.
I know that humanity is a long game. And I know that from the Middle Ages to now, I mean, what we have done I mean, it's history is unfolding, and you can never know where it's going to lead. And the other thing is that I didn't want to suspect or hate my neighbors
Right.
of one viewpoint or another, because I was getting very colored by, the we and the not we. There's this Doctor Who episode about the we and the
Yeah.
not we. Are you one of the we? And so I was like, you know what? It's upsetting me so much that I need to detach. And because I also had an experience in my life of getting into the 12-step fellowship of Al-Anon,
Oh,
where it
yeah.
talked about detaching from things that I can't control. And 12 steps have the serenity prayer: grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot
Not,
change,
yeah.
courage to or control, change courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, your guess is as good as mine as to where we go as a nation, where we go as a world. But yeah, just beware. We can be in a cult when we don't know it. And
Yes.
and the thing, and I've been in cults, mind
Yeah.
thought viruses, and thought that I was so correct, only
Yeah.
to maybe discover that I wasn't as correct as I thought. And so, but at the same time, I always want to harken back to, hey, humanity. As someone once said, it takes a village. It's like
Yes.
we're a melting pot of so many people, and we have our funny uncles, and we have our autistic genius savant cousins, and we've got our despondent loser, nicest people who will give you the shirt off their back, but they just always nothing works out, and we love them no matter what, and we worry about them. It takes everybody in this great tapestry of gods to animate the world. So let's come together. Love
And
one
it,
another. What's that song? It's a come on, people now. There are all those
pile
songs.
on your brother.
I'm a
Everybody
child of the
together.
60s. It's like
Spread
Melanie
along.
said,
Yeah.
lay down.
Well, and for me, the toughest part of the MAGA thing is watching the parents and children fight and
Mm,
not being able
yeah,
to get together for Thanksgiving. And what
sure.
do you say when you go to Thanksgiving dinner or get together for
Yeah,
Christmas? You shouldn't
but
have to do any of that.
right.
And my parents definitely were on the other side of the aisle for me,
Well, I
because
mean,
they
my
passed.
parents were on the other side of the aisle from me, but and the
Yeah,
funny thing is when we grew up, it
but
was
we
like,
got
oh,
together. I mean,
you
we
don't, but you also
put
didn't
that
really tell
aside.
people who you voted for. I mean, you might
Yeah,
have. My mother worked for Planned Parenthood, and she
yeah,
was a woman's league of voters. My father, but they were Republicans. They were definitely Rockefeller. I guess they called them Rockefeller Republicans.
Rockefeller Republicans. Yeah,
But the political names of the Democrats were the racists of the 1800s, the
that's
Republicans,
yeah,
freed the slaves. I mean, you get the name changes, or the
yeah.
name remains the same, but the people change. You never really know. And honestly, we're all here in this great script that's unfolding.
You're right. All right, Siren in the Storm.
Mm. So Siren in the Storm is a song I
Almost sounds
actually.
like a door song. No, I'm kidding.
Right, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Riders on the Storm. No, I'm kidding.
Right, right, which is one of my favorite songs.
Definitely.
Siren in the Storm came about because it's a song I wrote for General Hospital.
Oh, wow.
There was a storyline on General Hospital where one of the lead characters got amnesia and he could no longer remember his family. He thought that
Oh,
he was this rock and roll star
okay.
because in his past, he had an alter ego as a rock and roller, but now with his amnesia, he thought that that's who he was, full stop.
Yeah.
And he could not remember his wife or his son. And it was very troubling to everyone. And one
Yeah.
night, his wife thought he was out clubbing.
Oh,
And the next morning, she was very upset. Where were you last night? And it turned out he was writing a song in the solarium of their great mansion.
no. Okay.
And she said, "Oh, you were writing a song." And he played her the song. And it was The Siren in the Storm. And but he stopped halfway through. And the whole idea in the song is this guy's shipwrecked. He's in a boat on a sea he never knew. He's in a boat he doesn't know, in a land he can't remember, and he hears this siren calling from the distance. And he's like, I know she's out there calling to me, but I can't find her. And then he stops playing. And the wife's like, wait, what's the end of the song?
That
It's like,
was me.
I couldn't write any more of it. So
Oh,
they developed this storyline where he was writing this song, and
okay.
eventually his ex-wife came to town, who was his manager when he was a rock and
Oh,
roller, and
gosh.
she, kicks him into gear and says, "You got to finish writing the song." And she says, "What would you do if you needed to find this siren? How would you find her? You would dive into the water and you'd find her." And the character takes it literally and dives into the water. And his current wife, is like, "Wait a minute, how could you tell him that he's unstable?" She dives into the water and finds out that he's been trapped by seaweed, and
Yeah.
she rescues him. And when she brings him out of the water and gives him the breath of life, he remembers her, and all is happy in Port Charles. So that was the genesis of why the song was written. It was suggested to me by the executive producer Frank Valentini that I write the song, and he said, it should be about a guy can't remember who he is, and he's
Yeah.
trapped in a life he doesn't know. And so I thought, wow, a shipwreck idea. And I was thinking of the song by the great Canadian Gordon Lightfoot,
Oh,
The
yeah.
Wreck of the Edmund
Edmund
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald. Oh, yeah.
And,
A
and that's one of my
fantastic
favorite
song.
songs ever. And I only
Yeah.
heard it for the first time 4 years ago. I had never heard it
Oh,
before.
no kidding. I
And,
grew up in
and
Ohio, so Lake
yeah, well,
Erie, every year there's catastrophes like that in Lake Erie.
sure.
And yeah,
And
when
that,
that
so
song came out, it hit
right.
everyone up there. Yeah.
So I thought, I would like to write a song that's kind of like Gordon Lightfoot, like that type of a song. And
Yeah.
this song came to me like a download from the heavens, and it wrote
Wow.
itself. And I was very lucky to have it. So on this particular version, it's it began as a recording for General Hospital, and then Fernando Perdomo added guitar, and I added a drummer. This guy Charlie Paxson played the drums, and I wanted to have a kind of Motown drum sound, even though the song was way too slow. And there's a folk song, an Irish folk song called uh, "The Days of Pearly Spencer." By a guy named Williams. I can't remember his first name, but I highly recommend people look up The Days of Pearly Spencer. One of
I
the most
will.
beautiful songs. And I kind of stole the idea for the drums from that song, even though I couldn't quite get it to work. But Charlie did a great job. And then Rich Mauser added this incredible guitar solo at the end and mixed it, and it's one of my favorite songs on the album.
And at the end, and maybe I hope I didn't get the singer wrong. Is it Savannah Pope that does that Great Gig in the Sky like sound?
She does, yeah.
I'm not saying
She's the
it's a
siren.
copy. Yeah,
She's a friend
she's the
of
siren.
Paul's. She's worked with Paul Russler for many years. She's
Oh
here in
wow.
LA. She's a neighbor of mine. She's a great friend. She's a gorgeous, incredible singer. I admire her work so much, and particularly her costumes and everything she does. People look her up. And because I needed a singer right away, I thought I would use Savannah. I think I've heard some people say, well, why isn't Valerie on this album? And it's as if there was some great rift. But Valerie and I continue to work together. We will always work together. She's my oldest friend in the world, and she's got an incredible voice as well. And she might have been the siren if she lived down the street. But so anyway, yes, Savannah's all over this album. It was a wonderful opportunity to work with her, and she's contributed a lot to this, to especially that song.
All right. Enigmatic Terminus. That violin and the strings at the beginning are just beautiful. I mean, I don't think you've had them throughout the whole album, and then all of a sudden here they come, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah,
this was
well,
that. It was a
interestingly,
nice opening. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, interestingly enough, there's a lot of strings on Charlie New and
Oh
Hey
yeah, yeah.
Humanity, and they were arranged and played by Caitlin Wolfberg,
Okay.
who is someone that Paul introduced me to, a really talented scorer, orchestrator here in Los Angeles, who works a lot with Fernando Perdomo, a really talented guitarist who's amazing. And so she provided strings for a lot of the songs, including Siren. And but my friend Ariel Farber, who I've known since I was a child, who's a violinist and has played violin in Fido for many years, she did the strings for Enigmatic Terminus and Driving to Destruction. And there was this string moment in Enigmatic Terminus that was so stirring that she came up with. It was so dramatic to me, and I knew it was going to be buried in the mix. I knew that once we got the song going, you weren't really going to hear what these strings were doing, which is the problem with half of what happens in a song. All of the accoutrements and accompaniment, become sanded and smoothed out, and they become these background textures. So I wanted to begin this song dramatically, and I thought using her string part from the middle, in the front, kind of stabbing you. Also, this song represents to me the transition from the first part of the album, which is little folk songs and little nuggets of philosophies into this otherworldly realm of the legend of Mary Jo. And I thought the only way to make that feel natural was to have
It's
kind of a non-song
yeah.
lead you in. So this song was sort of an addendum to Driving to Destruction. It was this coda, as it were. I have a
Yeah.
lot of codas throughout my music, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to lead us into the otherworldly realm of Mary Jo. And the thing I like about this song is it's the same music over and over again, but in my opinion, it doesn't wear out its welcome because there's so many different elements coming in over the same chord progression that are unique and different. And I enjoyed it. This was also an opportunity for me to play electric guitar. I don't get to play like a lot of an electric guitar on my albums because frankly, I'm not that good an electric guitarist. I have a certain style that can sometimes work, but honestly, when I really need a great electric guitar, I go outside myself. Gabriel Moffat, who produced all my albums up until this point, he was just the greatest guitarist. Mark Shirkus, my keyboard player, who's on Mary Jo, but not on the rest of the album. He's also an amazing guitarist. But I met a lot of new guys working on this album, and it was great because there's a lot of different guitar styles. But this song contains my attempt at doing the John McGuff of Susie and the Banshees. My
Oh
my
yeah, yeah.
hero
Good.
guitarist.
No, very good. He's very good. All right, and then we do go to the Legend of Mary Joe, and what was it? I remember this. I think it was the Bush era, wasn't it?
Well, it's
In '92. No, I
1995 or
guess it
96
was.
or something.
I'm sorry. No, it was the Clinton era. But yeah,
Yeah,
you could.
I think it's sort of near Lewinsky. I think it's of the
Yeah,
times of sex scandals, the sex scandals of the rich and famous, and the infamous and poor. You know, we also had a lot of Long Island scandals. With the Amityville horror was
oh
about
yeah,
Long Island. There was a Satan cult
yeah.
that supposedly was
Salem.
happening. Where they wrote Satin lives instead of Satan lives. They misspelled Satan, and
Yeah,
then there was this tabloid story about Mary Jo Buttafuoco and her husband Joey Buttafuoco, and he was
he
having
was
an
on
affair with
TV
this
all the time. Yeah,
yeah, he was having an affair with this, young underage girl, Amy Fisher, and he wasn't going to leave his wife, so Amy Fisher went to shoot her and shot her in the face, and you know, like disfigured her. Although she survived and has had surgery to reclaim her looks, and I used to sing "My Name Is Mary Jo Buttafuoco" at rehearsals for my folk band, the Sun Machine, with my friend Ariel. And Ariel and we're like we grew up together, so we're kind of kids. I like to dip her pigtail in the ink well. It's sort of like she's a sister. She's a person I loved at one at once upon a time. We were dating, but we were young.
yeah.
Uh, Innocence, and so I love Ariel very deeply, but I always was tweaking her, and one of the things that she especially hated was when I sang "My Name Is Mary Jo Buttafuoco" as if it was a serious song. But then I think I started to think of it as a serious song and started trying to write some kind of strange metaphysical, metaphorical tale of Mary Jo and Amy
And this is a good one.
as two, figures battling each other, sort of like, the war of, the ages. And I didn't realize how many lyrics I had written, but I put the lyrics in a box of, it was in my effects, all my ancient archives. And recently I sent all my ancient archives from New York City to Los Angeles. So I would have everything in one place. And I was going through the box one day and found this lyric and thought, gosh, I didn't know I did that much of Mary Jo. In fact, I knew I had some music for Mary Jo. And there was, when I was writing Infernal, I was going to put some of the Mary Jo music into Infernal. I don't think I would have had the character Mary Jo. I think I would have just used some of the riffs.
Yeah,
Um, but so instead, so I came up with this idea for Mary Jo again. I was like, oh, there's something here. I played some of the chords, some of them worked, some of them didn't. I created this demo, and I brought it into Paul, my producer, and I said, I made this demo. What do you think? And even though I didn't want to do new music because I'm trying to finish old music, he thought it was a strong idea. He appreciated the nuttiness of it, and he said, "Well, you got to record it live. You can't do it as a MIDI. We can't bring the band in later. It has to have vibrant energy because it seemed like it was
yeah,
calling for that." And we had worked with this drummer Joe Berardi, who had come in and added drums to things I had previously recorded. So we thought, well, this would be a great way to get Joe in to do, a live recording with me on piano, him on drums, so we can feed off each other. And he's just, I mean, he's really, the best drummer. I have a lot of best drummers, but he's just unbelievably smoking incredible. So
Yes.
he elevated that song to another level. And then we got this. Paul said, "Well, there's a guitarist that I think you should meet named Fernando Perdomo. I want to send him these tracks and see what he would do." And Fernando sent back his guitar ideas, and they blew me out of the water. At first, I rejected them, thought they ruined the song, and then I realized, oh my God, he is actually hears the song way better than I do, and I quickly put them in. And then we brought my friend Johnny and his partner Naomi down to do some overdubbing. Johnny Unicorn is in my has played with my 10-piece
Yes,
band for
I
many years,
remember.
and he's been very influential on my music. And so he and Naomi came down, and Naomi was playing keyboards, and Johnny was going to play bass. He wanted to play bass, and I was like, great, he can play anything, great. So, but it turned out that he didn't play any keyboards on this song at all, only bass, and his bass part kicked it up another notch. So between that and Naomi, Johnny, and me and Ariel stacking the vocals. Also, it's fun because in this song, Ariel gets this step out vocal moment which she never gets in the Fido music. She there's this great guitar solo and this voice that comes through, singing this melody. And I think of it as every bit as important as the guitar solo in that moment. So,
Definitely. Yeah.
also it was an opportunity for me to have my friend. Well, Mark came through. He and his friend, he and his girlfriend Amanda, who I've known since I was a kid, came to town. I put him on the song playing some Mellotron because he's my favorite Mellotron tronist. And Amanda brought her flute. She played some flute. Some of it we didn't end up using because the song wanted to go in a slightly different direction. But the great thing about these bonus tracks for the Bandcamp download is that there's a version of Mary Jo with all the bits that were not in the final version because there
Excellent.
was a lot of things that we had to make choices and to
Yeah.
clarify the song. And so some things didn't end up in the final mix. Amanda's flute is there, but she's playing just kind of chords as
Okay.
opposed to the melody. I thought the
The
melody was a little bit
matching
too
the melody. Yeah.
Jethro Tullish, but so yeah, so the song is definitely greater than some of its parts, and it's probably the song I'm most proud of in my workings so far.
Definitely. There's a lot of deep thinking into this one. What what do you believe is the moral to the story? I wrote down that, despite all his problems, the wife hangs with him despite all this stuff. And it's like, the old saying, stay with the devil, rather than,
Mhm.
look for a new one. But is it that, or is it something different to you?
Well, to me, the characters become uh, like mythical, archetypal
Definitely.
images beyond who the people are. So
And
so
they
in the
did
in the
during
song
that time too.
we leave behind Joey and we leave behind what even it is the genesis of this diabolical
Yeah.
clash of titans. And Mary Jo is there warning us about this Amy. Amy, she likes life. She's on the go. She's spoiling for the fight. She's ready to go. I, I admittedly 100%, I have no idea what the song is trying to say. But I let it say it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed what it said. I believe in what it says, but I don't know. But I will say that when Amy gets on the road, you must never walk alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, whether Amy's good or bad, whether she'll mow you down, whether she'll pick you up as a hitchhiker and bring you over to her way of being, we can never know. But we must guard ourselves on those dark highways. It's very riders on the storm,
Yeah, I was gonna say Riders on the Storm.
riders on the storm. Into a world we're born.
Definitely. And by the way, since you brought that back up, I was going to ask you when you were talking about it. What's your favorite part, the singing, or for me, it's the keyboards? I mean, Ray. when we
Oh,
lost
on
him,
that
we
song,
lost a great one.
on Riders on the Storm. Well, yeah, I mean that piano is incredible. I personally I like the thunder. You
Oh,
know,
okay. At the beginning, yeah.
I mean, what is it about that song? I mean, you know, yeah, Jim sings great. It's. I feel like that song captures terror. It captures darkness and mystery, and what beguiles us and what can lure us in and what can kill us and what what ecstasy and agony. It's all of everything, and yet they had done that on their very first album with The End.
The
There's
oh
no
my
song that's more mystical and
oh
containing literal. I mean, is the song actually LSD in a musical form? I mean, I don't even know what the song is. It's beyond. I mean, those two songs show us that music can transport you without drugs, without
yeah,
anything
you
to
don't
another
need that.
world. And if I believe, as some of your listeners may understand, I write on my record credits that the songs were discovered by Phideaux Xavier because I feel that I discovered the songs, that they come from a realm in which they already exist. And
Yeah,
it's up to me to bring them into existence. And if that mystical realm exists, then songs like The End and Riders on the Storm and I Am the Walrus and Lather come from there. Songs that are mystical, that you can't even imagine something greater. They don't, you don't need anything other than to hear them. You can't even put them into words what they mean because they are the truth themselves. That to me is what music is. All this music that we love, Close to the Edge, Sergeant
yeah.
Pepper, you know,
Awake. I love Awake from Yes.
right?
And a lot of
Yeah,
people, brush by that one, but
high
there's
vibrations.
yes. But he mentioned in the end, and during my when I was a kid, they never played the mid section until I bought, and then I bought the album and listened to
Right,
the middle section.
right.
And you're absolutely right. It's a horror movie in its that short horror movie. Let's put it.
No,
But yeah, it definitely it'll start you. For those that haven't heard the full song, if you watch the movie um, Apocalypse Now, you heard all the good stuff. You didn't hear the midsection. Also,
right.
but yeah, it's a deep one. And even I was talking to somebody else about the parade, the
Soft parade.
off parade. Oh my God, what a song! And
Yeah,
it starts out, a little bit like that, not quite as bad, but uh,
yeah,
just so many songs that band made that
sure.
you'll never hear that again. You'll absolutely.
No. And then
And
you listen to Full Circle and the album after it, and it's amazing. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
yeah, yeah, no. Okay, you talked a little bit about touring with me before we started, but you want to go into he's actually talking about maybe bringing this live, and I think it's going to be kind of like Claypool Lennon. You're going to do a bunch of different things, right? You're probably going to do you've got these two or three other albums, so you're probably going to do that as well. Maybe some stuff from the past as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to get back out and play. And, my problem is having an electric band. My 10-piece band is an unwieldy beast. And, we're all, none of us are getting younger. We have things in life to do. Unfortunately, my drummer, Bloody Rich, is going through a health issue now
Oh,
where he's prevented from playing drums. I'm hoping he will recover from that and regain his ability to play drums. But people are moving on to different things. I'm doing a very small gig this October at Prague Stock with
Oh,
Valerie Gracious and I are going to be
oh, okay.
performing just kind of stripped down acoustic things. Ariel is going to join us on vocals and violin, and we have a new friend coming, a gentleman named Evan Opitz, whose album Ames Window Angels Tintinnabulation is just out, and it's a great album. I recommend it. He's coming to play some electric guitar, and I'm talking to him about forming a band that could play my music and in a more electric way. He's a really talented guy, and so I'm looking forward to the possibilities of what could emerge for me in terms of being able to perform some of this, new music of mine in a live setting. You never say never to old configurations or people from the past, playing with you. But I know that I'm going forward, but also 2027 is the anniversary of Doomsday Afternoon, and I'd like to honor that album. That album, of course, was before there was a 10-piece band of Phideaux. All the people, many of the people who became the 10-piece band of Phideaux are actually, they're all on that album, but not all at the same time and not all on the whole album. So it's you never know who you might meet at a Phideaux concert, Phideaux Xavier concert, as my friend Dean, a cameraman at General Hospital, dubbed me Phideaux Xavier the First. I'm if nothing, I'm a pretentious fellow, so I'll take it. Phideaux Xavier the First. I mean, you always have to wait to be the second or third before you get the number, but I'm going to take it right up front. So yeah, I would like to perform, and if I can get together a smaller band, then it would be possible for me to do something like a tour. It's never been possible before because to get a 10 pieces on a stage in a smaller place is hard. But fingers crossed that I'll get something together for the upcoming 2027 season.
And people are probably always asking you, well, don't bring the 10 people. No, you can't do what you want to do without the 10 people. And people forget that. I mean, well, just, do clips and
Right.
shoot those during the show. It's not the same.
No, I mean, the 10 people gigs and that the album I have an album coming out in October, which is a live album of the 10 people band. And all of their contributions are so incredibly important and necessary. And, this is a great celebration of that project. And so, I love it dearly. It was the highest point of my musical work. And now as I move into a different direction, I'm hoping to, create a new shell in which to put my creative juices. So, and Valerie and I do a lot of work together. So it would be great to maybe do something with her, the two of us with an electric band, supporting that music as well.
All right. And then you also just kind of go over the three albums that there's this one, of course, and
Yeah,
then
so there's
the other.
AutoMoto Animus, and there is the album called Orion, which is a 3 album set, 2 CD live album of Phideaux music taken from the Snow Torch era.
Oh,
It's when we were performing Snow Torch. It's before Infernal came out, and it's from a concert we did in 2011 at Orion Sound Studios. And I'm very excited about it. Rich Mauser's done a great job mixing it. And then I think in 2027, people can look forward to the reissue of The Great Leap and The Doomsday Afternoon as a 20th anniversary edition. With each will come with a bonus disc of extra tracks, extra mixes, live versions of songs, unreleased snippets, demos. So we're going to celebrate Doomsday Afternoon in 2027 and finally bring it back into physical format, and it'll be both LP and CD.
excellent. Well, we're definitely waiting for that and looking forward to it for sure. Yeah. Anything this guy does is super fantastic. And
Thank you,
if
sir.
you and if you haven't heard any of his music yet, I don't know where you've been, but at least uh, make this the start then. And I think once you hear his music for the first time, you'll say, "Yeah, I'm hooked. I want to hear more." AutoMoto Animus is the new one. July 6th, right after the 4th of July. He's got the picture there. I got it up there if you can see it. But yeah, and it's everything and more. And it's his latest, and it's a new direction, so to speak. Shorter songs, but there is a nice big one at the end. We just talked about it. For those of you that love the long songs like me, but there's a lot here, and it's a lot to dip into. And he took a lot of time, and thank you very much going into every song. Appreciate that. Is there anything I forgot or anything else you wanted to say that I didn't? Or that,
No, no, just love yourself, love one another, be here now.
yeah, let's move on from what we're going through and don't make it permanent. Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. All right. Well, please, get out there, at least give this a chance if you've never heard him before. And I think once you do, you'll go back into that discography and he's bringing it back to you. If not, so if you can't find something, you will. He's going to bring all that back out. And hopefully we get to see you live. That really would be fantastic. Thank you, Fido, for coming here today. AutoMoto Animus. It is again July 6th. Please give it a chance. I'm gonna
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause everything. Any last minute? No.
Nope.
All right. All right. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna pause the recording, but please take a listen.